Heading into the 2022-2023 NBA season, I want to go over the top 10 players at each position. Each list will be based on both importance factor a player has to his team, as well as skill compared to other players at his position. Now, always remember, lists like this are purely subjective, meant to get the conversation started, and will almost always never be the same as anyone else's. This is all entertainment, so don't kill me for it if you disagree. I'm just a guy. Now, if any of you do have a different list, or you think something in this list could be tweaked, some people higher, some people lower, always comment below. You already know we the best hoop discussion channel on the tube, and if you haven't already, hit that sub button because your boy is trying to hit 1,000 subs by the end of this year, and it would mean the absolute world to me if you guys help me to reach that goal. But without further ado, let's hop into this one. At number 10, in his sophomore season, Melo Ball took a leap into stardom we didn't really expect him to make at the age of just 20. Now, we expected him to continue to grow in his career, and we know he's gonna be a superstar at some point, but just in his second year, the leap he took from his rookie year was a vast improvement that caught a couple of people by surprise. He was named an all-star for the first time and consistently improved in every statistical category that we cover. This year, he commanded the game even better, showing a feel that we didn't see in his rookie season. His third year, I expect him to come into his own, start leading this team, and begin to take over the reins of this Hornets squad. With Miles Bridges not playing, that gives Melo an even bigger meal on his plate, which I definitely think he can handle. There's no reason we can't see another all-star season from LaMelo Ball. He has the opportunity to possibly even achieve more than just a all-star season. His leadership is going to come to a head this year and will prove to be far more important than many of us thought. While the Hornets are dealing with pandemonium in the front office and they're dealing with some nasty business off of the court regarding one of its other players, LaMelo has to find a way to reel it in and keep these guys together. Last year, he averaged 20 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, 8 assists per game, and that notches 2 steals per game to boot. He isn't done developing, as we saw last year where he improved in every statistical category on the board. But specifically with efficiency and scoring, Melo can improve, and I think he will this year and going forward. Melo is shooting well from deep, knocking down more contested shots, and if he can improve his shot making ability elsewhere while leading the Hornets, hopefully they'll be seeing more than just a play-in exit. At number 9, we got Darius Garland, DG. DG was yet another guard that made a significant leap last season. Garland has become an all-star, putting up career highs in points, assists, steals, and field goal percentage. Garland's rise to all-star and finishing top 3 in the most improved rankings this offseason has proved to be fruitful for him and gives Cavs fans a lot to look forward to in the acquisition of Donovan Mitchell. Immediately, that threw them in the thick of Eastern Conference contention. Injuries slightly derailed this season last year toward the end of the year, but Garland's big year, along with the other 2 young guys of this core, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, gives Cleveland their most exciting team since 2018. With the pickup of Donovan Mitchell, this team has now catapulted into the thick of a conversation between who the best backcourts are in the league. Garland recorded 7 20-plus point scoring performances, and against the Pacers, he dropped 41. Garland recorded 7 30-plus point scoring performances, and against the Pacers on March 8th, he dropped 41 points. Garland looks to increase volume from the 3 while maintaining that consistent efficiency. He shot 38% from 3 and 46% from the field. Mobley and Allen alongside Garland has helped his development, and I think Donovan Mitchell coming will push his development even further. Garland and the Cavs look to have a great year, and I think Garland will continue to rise as a top guard in the league, seeing himself maybe pushing the top 3 by the end of this year. The next shooting guard we have on this list, and perfect timing because he's just in the back, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. SGA, in my opinion, might be the most underrated player in the NBA. Last year, he averaged 24.5 points per game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists per game, and 1 steal per game. Last season got off to a very slow start for SGA, but by the end of the year, he was playing like a top guard in the league. He hurt his ankle, which kept him out for a month leading up to the All-Star break, but following the All-Star break, he returned like nothing really happened. SGA came back and averaged 36 and 7. Only issue was that during this time, the Thunder only went 2 and 10 in these games. By March, SGA was shut down and the team wasn't really going anywhere, so it made sense. Things will get better in OKC though, because they do have a second-year standout in Josh Giddey to pair with SGA, and I would normally say he would be an all-star, but the West is pretty deep with regards to the backcourt and the guards. I'm not sure I see him over Steph. Ja, Dame, and maybe even Chris Paul. However, it's not impossible, and I think he will play at a level where Twitter will begin to hate him, because we all know how Twitter is. Once a guy becomes good and comes into his own, they begin to hate. The Thunder should win some more games, but they might not, because Chet did injure his foot, which he won't be playing this season, which is a setback, but it might be a setback for a major comeback, enabling this team to go get Victor Wembanyama. And if that happens, the NBA is in trouble. I don't expect OKC to be a playoff team just yet, but he can for sure help them win more than 24 games. And I look forward to watching a little bit more OKC games, strictly because SGA is on the screen. And not to mention, he a cute ass nigga. At number 7, I have James Harden. Now with James Harden, I've always had a love-hate relationship with him. On one hand, his game is nice, and I low-key model my game after him as I've gotten older and slower. However, I know his playstyle is not a winning playstyle in this NBA. This year in Philly, I believe Harden takes a step back in scoring, and he shows us how good of a facilitator he really is. Many have already written Harden off, and they think he won't get back to that MVP record-breaking level he was at in Houston. I personally don't think he will ever get to that point, but not because he can't, but because there's no reason to. That version of James Harden was James Harden that was trying to play Superman and will his team to a ring. However, this time, James Harden has more help around him, and he doesn't need to be that kind of Harden. I think we're gonna get the same great playmaking Harden, maybe even better, and this time, with this being maybe Harden's best team he's ever had, with a top 2 big in the league, Tyrese Maxey, who's looking to have the best year of his career thus far, and then you got role players that are brought in that are some dogs, and PJ Tucker, who have experience both in the league and in the postseason with some hardware to boot. This Sixers team is a well-rounded roster, but there's still some questions regarding their depth. James Harden is in the biggest leadership role he's ever been in, and I think he's ready to take that next step in building his legacy and making an attempt at a title run. Harden averaged 21 points per game, 10 assists, 7 rebounds on 40% shooting and 32 from 3. Harden left the train wreck of Brooklyn very, very early, which was smart, and found a squad that is his own, and I think he'll be very successful this coming season. Number 6 might be a little bit controversial, because I know a lot of people on social media and stuff don't really like Kyrie, and I understand there are reasons to have cons and not really like him as a basketball player. But one thing you will have to do is respect his skill as a basketball player. Although he only played 29 games this past season, Kyrie still looked very much in his prime. He scored over 20 points in 22 of those games, including a game where he dropped 50 on the Hornets and a career best 60 points against the Magic. Again, the season was tumultuous to say the least. Trade rumors, scrutiny, and him being unavailable, they all play contributions to this wild ride of a season. Kyrie is set to return full-time this season and will continue to be brilliant. In the 29 games he appeared in, he was spectacular. He dropped 27 points per game on his normal efficient 47, 41, and 91% shooting splits. Kyrie has a chance, unlike any other, to prove haters wrong and shut the critics up. I believe he will stay in Brooklyn for the entirety of the year despite the trade rumors, and when active and healthy, he is as good as any offensive point guard in this league. The offense is his to control, and whatever tempo he wants to set, he can do that. The offense is his to control, and whatever tempo he wants to set, he can do this, especially if the Nets aren't adding more pieces to help him and KD. If he can remain active, look for him to return to an all-star level and leading Brooklyn to playoff contention. Now, if you made it halfway through the video, I appreciate you 10,000 times. It's all love, whatever you gotta say. But if you're new and you haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing. You're already halfway through the video. That should be enough time for you to know whether you rock with me or not. So yeah, go ahead and hit that sub button for your boy. At number 5, for the first time in his career, Dame missed major time just playing 29 games last season, but he is looking to bounce back better than before. Dame had an injury he said has been hindering him and his production for a little while now. Dame finally got the oblique issue resolved and is looking to come back better than ever. Essentially, this is the first time Dame has been healthy since the 2021 Olympics. Before being out for the year due to an oblique injury, he had career lows in his field goal percentage and 3-point percentage, which are usually efficient. The injury very visibly hindered Dame's production, which led to the team shutting him down. But with the proverbial chip that consistently is on Dame's shoulder, he will make sure the Trailblazers are a competitive team in the West regardless. Lillard has consistently opted to remain in Portland to make things work, and while social media and the regular media kill him for this, I personally admire his loyalty. I make jokes, but I will forever be a Dame fan because of his loyalty to his team. The West is loaded, but if history has taught us anything, it's that you don't count out a healthy Dame, especially when he's motivated. At number 4, we got that boy Trey Young in Atlanta. Trey is coming off the most complete and impressive season of his career. Trey led the league in total points and assists, but the downside to that is that he also led the league in total turnovers. He led Atlanta back to the playoffs, but he did have a lackluster outing in large part due to Miami's impressive defense on him. Young's numbers are even more impressive when you consider the rule changes that were implemented last offseason directly correlated to his game, which forced him to change it completely. Before, he would draw consistent foul calls, doing certain things that are not allowed now, and get to the line very often and would punish you if you got your hand caught in the cookie jar. But with these new rules that were adopted, he was unable to exploit this rule and the referees into forcing the whistle, and yet he still found a way to average almost 30 points per game. I often give Trey crap and call him overrated because people consider him as good, if not better than Luka. While he isn't at the level of Luka, he is still an amazing player with a lot to accomplish. There's a lot of buzz in Atlanta surrounding Trey and the Hawks with their addition of DeJounte Murray heading into this season. The Hawks season ended in disappointment, and they look to avenge that this year. Trey is going to erase the series blunder from everyone's memory, and we will end up seeing why he is considered a top 5 point guard in this league, possibly cracking the top 3 by the end of the year. Trey's headed into this 5th season with a good Hawks team and a loaded East, and I believe he will lead this team to some success while continuing his stellar offensive display night in and night out. At number 3, we got Ja Morant. Of all the point guards that improved last year, Ja by far improved the most. Ja reached near superstar level, and it showed with the superstar level extension he received from Memphis. He went for a career high in points, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and true shooting percentage. Ja is overhated amongst people outside the league, and though the reasoning is low-key not understood by me, I for one thinks he deserves the credit, hype, and love he gets around the league. Ja is the first guy in recent memory that I can remember could have won the MVP and most improved in the same year. Unfortunately, players like Embiid, Jokic, and Giannis were doing much more for their teams, and they were doing a lot more in the thick of the MVP race, but Ja was clearly most improved without a shadow of a doubt. Ja and his Grizzlies won 56 games and looked to finish after being able to start strong. This team plays excellent defense and are hungry. When you have a team like that, it's going to be hard to stop, especially matching it up with the talent that they have. This offseason, he finalized a 5-year extension and is looking to be regarded as one of the top 2 point guards in the league. He is this team's on-court leader, and even though the Grizz won games in his absence, it was clear that his presence on his team matters. Look for Ja to continue to build his resume and to continue to become a solid leader for the Grizzlies, and by the end of this year, he can arguably be the best point guard in the league. At number 2, a lot of you guys are going to kill me for having Steph Curry second, but possibly the only reason I really have for him being second and not first is because he's older. Now rock with me. This list isn't necessarily what PGs are better than the next, but rather more of a mixture of who is better combined with what value they bring to the team. Despite Steph being the best point guard in the league right now, the guy I have number 1 is arguably the most important player to any team in the NBA, meaning without him on that team, they are probably not a playoff team. Midway through last year, the critics were on Steph's head for what was admittedly a down year. The funny part of it all is that during Steph's down years, that's amazing career best years for most others. That says a lot to Steph and who he is as a 3-point shooter, scorer, and NBA player, and making me kind of reconsider putting him at 2, but I'ma stand 10 toes on that. Curry had the last laugh in the playoffs where he led the Warriors to their 4th title in 8 years, where he averaged 31 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, and 5 assists per game, shooting 44% from 3 in the 6-game series win over Boston. There's only one point guard that would compete with Steph for MVP in terms of point guards, and it is that man, Luka Magic. Now, like I said, at number 1, y'all might kill me for this, but like I said before, there's only one player in the league who I can say without a doubt is the most integral part of his team, and that's that man Luka Doncic. Take Luka off the Mavs, and it's hard to tell me that the Mavs are a play-in team. I can argue they will not even be a play-in team, especially after losing Jalen Brunson this offseason. Whenever I think Luka can't amaze me any more than he already has, he proves me wrong, and he just gets better and better and better. He was named to the All-Star team for his 3rd straight season, as well as All-NBA first team for his 3rd straight season. Let's not forget, Luka is going into his 5th year this season. So that means every year after his rookie year, he was All-NBA first team. 3 straight seasons. He once again put the Mavs on his back, leading them to the Western Conference Finals, where they eventually lost to the NBA champion Warriors. I don't care what any of you say, Luka dismantled the Utah Jazz and forced them into rebuild mode. The playoff ass beatings he was giving the Jazz year after year, that team ended up dismantling and they're rebuilding at our very eyes, all because of Luka. Luka averaged 31, 10, and 6 in 15 playoff games and continued his postseason dominance. During the season, he averaged 28, 9, and 8. The Mavericks improved slightly, bringing in a capable big in Christian Wood, and with this addition, it will allow Luka's playmaking ability to be highlighted a bit more, as he is a big that can finish at the rim a lot better than any other big Luka has had. The pick and roll game will be deadly, and I'm ecstatic to watch Luka hoop this year because his game is pure beauty. We are likely going to see an MVP campaign for Luka this year, and all I have to say is sit back and enjoy. Keep your eyes on the Mavericks this year. Maybe not as a contender, but make sure you're not gonna miss this Luka magic that's gonna be spread and going wild across the NBA. But until next time, this is all I got for you guys in this video. It's your boy TB with the greatest hoop stories, debates, and discussions on the tube, and I'm out. Peace.